Hello students, how are you all doing? If you remember, we had begun with the chapter Ranga's marriage, in which the author he talked about his village Hoshali. He also told us that his village it did not exist in map. He also expressed his love for Hoshali and talked about uh, glowingly about his village. Then the how the tradition changed means earlier it was, I mean, people did not know English language. Kannada was the native language and it was not contaminated with words from English. But now there are many who know and use English. And we also came to know about the story that the village accountant he sent his son to study in Bangalore, and when he returned back, his homecoming, it was a big event. People flocked to Ranga's house to have a look at him on his return to Hoshali, and they wanted to see whether he was the same Ranga or he has changed. Then we left our chapter when Ranga visited the author with few oranges, which the narrator thought was quite thoughtful of him. And he found him to be generous and considerate, and uh, intended to find the right girl for Ranga. But Ranga was not in favor of marriage. He opposed marrying someone quite younger in years, as was traditionally being done in arranged marriage. He said that a man should marry a girl he admires, otherwise, one should remain a bachelor. And that was why he decided not to hurry into matrimony. So, continuing further, so after this, he said that he is uh, going to marry a mature girl, otherwise, it is better to remain a bachelor. That is why he is not marrying now. So, narrator he asked, is there any other reason a man should marry a girl he admires? Admires means loves. What we have now are arranged marriages. So the custom that were followed in the village were of arranged marriage. How can one admire a girl with milk stains on one side of her face and wetness on the other side, or so young that she doesn't even know how to bite her fingers? So basically, he wants to say over here that the girl should be mature enough and she should not be young, small girl. I mean, a kid, because the kid doesn't know when the child drinks milk, milk stains are there on the face, and also. She doesn't even know how to bite her fingers means you must have seen in old movies how the young girl who is shy in front of a hero and she starts biting her nails. So he says that she doesn't even know how to bite her fingers, so uh, he doesn't want that kind of a girl. Further he says, one a neem fruit, the other a bitter god. So he says that one is like a neem fruit means what should I say, neem, you know how it is, how it tastes, and the other a bitter god. Bitter god, you know, in Hindi it is called Karela. So both are both have a bitter taste. So it says that I mean, young girl, in both ways it is not fit for marriage. Exactly, Ranga said, laughing. I was distressed. Distressed means sad. That the boy who I thought would make a good husband had decided to remain a bachelor. After chatting means talking, for a little longer, Ranga left. I made up my mind right then that I would get him married. So here the narrator, after having a good talk with him for a long time, he decided that he will not let him remain a bachelor and he will find a suitable girl for Ranga. Rama Rao's niece, a pretty girl of 11, had come to stay with him. So he introduces Rama Rao over here and his niece, who is an 11-year-old girl. She had come to stay with her uncle. She was from a big town and knew how to play the veena and harmonium. She also had a sweet voice. Both her parents had died and her uncle had brought her home. Ranga was just the boy for her, according to our narrator, and he thought that she would be the most suitable bride for him. So, as I said, narrator introduced us to a new character in the story, and it is Uncle Ramarao and his niece. She's 11-year-old girl, and she had lost her parents, and so her uncle brought her from the big town to his home with him. She had a great voice and could play harmonium and veena, and narrator thought that Ranga and this girl would make a great pair. Since I was a frequent visitor to Rama Rao's place, the girl was quite free with me. I completely forgot to mention her name, Ratna. So the name of the girl is Ratna. The very next morning, I went to their house and told Rama Rao's wife, I'll send some buttermilk for you. Ask Ratna to fetch it. Fetch it means to get it. So here he tries to make a situation where he could make Ratna and Ranga being introduced to each other. He says that Ratna was quite familiar with the narrator as he visited Rama's place frequently, and the narrator thought of a plan to introduce Ratna to Ranga. So he asked Rama to send Ratna to his place as he wanted to send some buttermilk for them. Ratna came. It was Friday, and she was wearing a grand sari, a beautiful sari. I told her to sit in my room and requested her to sing a song. So he requested her to sing a song as she had a very sweet voice. I sent for Ranga. While she was singing the song Krishnamurti in front of my eyes, Ranga reached the door. He stopped at the threshold. Threshold, it's a strip of wood or a stone that is forming the bottom of a doorway and crossed in entering a house or a room. So he stopped at the threshold. So here narrator says that Ratna, she came all dressed up in sari, and narrator insisted upon her to sing a song while he sent someone to call Ranga. So just as she was singing, Ranga arrived at the door. He did not want the singing to stop but was curious to see the singer. Curious means eager. Carefully he peeped in. Peeped in means looked secretly. The light coming into the room was blocked. Ratna looked up and seeing a stranger there abruptly stopped. Abruptly means suddenly she stopped. So just as Ratna was singing, Ranga arrived at the door and her melancholic voice touched his ears, and thus he did not want to interrupt the singing, so he stood at the door. But he was curious to see the singer, and very cautiously he tried to have a look which disturbed the lighting in the room. And on seeing a stranger, Ratna immediately stopped her singing. Suppose you buy the best quality mango, you eat it slowly, savoring. Savoring means enjoying its full taste. So, savoring its peel before biting into the juicy flesh, you do not want to waste any part of it. Before you take another bite, the fruit slips out of your hand and falls to the ground. How do you feel? Ranga's face showed the same disappointment when the singing stopped. So here narrator he compares Ranga's situation to the disappointment of dropping a best quality mango on the floor just before having to truly enjoy it. It was as if something great had been stolen before one could fully enjoy it. You sent for me, he asked as he came in and sat on a chair. Ratna stood at a distance, her eyes lowered. Ranga repeatedly glanced. Glanced means looked at her. Once our eyes met and he looked very embarrassed. Embarrassed means ashamed. No one spoke for a long while. So Ranga asked the narrator why he called for him, and Ratna was shy and looked downward, whereas Ranga he stealthily glanced at her, and there was an awkward silence in the room. It was my coming in that stopped the singing. Let me leave. So after things went a bit awkward in the sense nobody was speaking to each other. Ranga looked at Ratna, and in between their eyes met, and then it was very embarrassing for them. So here he says that he feels it was his coming that stopped the singing, so he must leave. Words, mere words. The fellow said he would leave but did not make a move. How can one expect words to match actions in these days of Kali Yuga? So as he said that he wants to leave, but he didn't move. So narrator makes fun of him because he had no intention of going, and he jokes about it and says one cannot expect actions and words to match in the Kali Yuga. So he's just making a sarcastic remark over here because in today's world people say something and they do something, so the words do not match with their actions. So same here, he says that he said that he must live but he did not move. Ratna ran inside, overcome by shyness. Shyness is here nervousness. After a while Ranga asked, who is this girl, Swami? Who's that inside? The lion wanted to know. The he goat who had taken shelter in the temple replied, does it matter who I am? I am a poor animal who has already eaten 9 lions. I have vowed to eat one more. Tell me, are you male or female? The lion fled the place in fear, it seems. So, after a few minutes of awkward silence, Ranga finally asked the narrator about the girl. Now, the narrator compares the situation with the infamous story of the he goat and the lion, where he is the he goat and Ranga the lion. So here he calls narrator calls himself he goat and calls Ranga the lion. And as it says that the he goat who had taken shelter in the temple replied that does it matter who I am, means he is telling Ranga that how does it matter that who is there inside. He says that I am a poor animal who has already eaten 9 lions and I have vowed to eat more. Tell me, are you male or female? Hearing this, the lion fled the place in fear, it seems. So, further, he says that, like the he goat, I said, what does it matter to either of us who she is? I am already married and you aren't the marrying kind. So narrator replies very cleverly and intends on seeing Ranga's interest in knowing about Ratna, and he says that how does it matter who she is, and it is not of that much importance because narrator is already married and Ranga doesn't intend on marrying anytime soon. Very hopefully, he asked, "She isn't married then?" His voice did not betray his excitement, but I knew it was there. So, with great hope, he asked that I think the girl is not married. And writer says that his voice did not betray his excitement, means his voice, it was not showing that much excitement, but writer knew that, yes, the narrator knew that Ranga was very excited to find out whether the girl was married or unmarried. He was showing interest in the girl. She was married a year ago. Very hopefully, sorry, she was married a year ago. His face shriveled. Shriveled means shrunken and wrinkled, like a roasted brinjal. After a while, Ranga left saying, I must go, I have work at home. So, when narrator told him that how does it matter whether she is married or not, but when he tells him that she was married a year ago, Ranga got, I mean, with the full hope, when he asked whether she's married or not, he replies that she is probably, got married a year ago, and Ranga was disappointed and disheartened, and how his face expressed it, how it became, it shriveled, it shrunken, it wrinkled like a roasted brinjal, and after a while, he left the place saying that I must go, I have some work. So he was disappointed and disheartened, and it was clearly all over his face. So he went away quoting some work. I went to our Shastri the next morning and told him, keep everything ready to read the stars. I'll come later. I tutored him in all that I wanted him to say. I found no change in Ranga when I met him that afternoon. What's the matter? You seem to be lost in thought, I said. Nothing, nothing wrong, believe me. Headache? Come, let's go and see a doctor. Tutored means taught. So, our narrator, having staged certain liking in the mind of Ranga for Ratna, went on to complete his play. So, it was this screenplay was all made by our narrator. And what was the next thing to do in it? He went to the village Shastri and told him everything that had to be said and done. So, beforehand, he he taught him what is to be said when he would be coming later on. Then he met Ranga that afternoon and carried the same, and Ranga carried the same disappointment on his face. He was not looking fine. He was not looking happy or comfortable. And upon asking if it's a headache, the narrator tells him that they should go see a doctor. But Ranga insists that everything is fine with him and he is normal self. So he says that I have no headache. I am my usual self, means I am normal self. I went through the same thing when the process of choosing a girl for me was going on. So narrator very wittily makes a remark that he went through the same feelings when he was seeing girls for himself. But I don't think that that could be a reason for your present condition. But immediately mentions that it could not be the reason for Ranga because Ranga was not ready for marriage. Ranga stared at me. Come, let's go and see Shastri, I suggested. We will find out whether Guru and Shani are favorable for you or not. I think you have understood Guru and Shani, the stars. I mean, they are going to a Shastri, they are going to an astrologer to find out the Guru, that is Jupiter, and the Shani, Saturn, are they in favor or not. Ranga accompanied me without any protest. So, Ranga, he went with a narrator without any protest. As soon as Shastri saw me, he exclaimed, "What a surprise, Shama!" Now, for the very first time, we are hearing the name of a narrator, and the name of a narrator is Shama. Haven't seen you for a long time. So, when Ranga went with the narrator to Shastri, and on seeing Shastri, he implied not having seen the narrator in a long while, which is obviously not true, as they had met before the same morning. We know it that these people, they met each other in the morning only, but that was just a show off, as tutored by narrator. Shama is none other than your servant, the narrator of this tale. So here the narrator, he reveals his pet name, Shama, as they called him in the village. I got angry and shouted, "What? Only this morning?" Shastri completed my sentence. "You finished all your work and are now free to visit me." Had he not done so, I would have ruined our plan for by bursting like grains that are kept in the sun to dry. I was extremely careful for what I said afterwards. So here, when he said that I have not seen you for a very long time, narrator, he felt that Shastri was lying because they saw each other that morning, and thus he immediately responded. However, Shastri completed his sentence and saved the entire situation. And Shama realized what he was just about to do and took extra care from that moment. Shastri turned to Ranga. "When did the young son of an accountant clerk come home? What can I do for him? It's very rarely that he visits us." So Shastri continued his role and acted surprised on seeing Ranga. Take out your paraphernalia. Paraphernalia is the things that are associated with a particular activity that are regarded as superfluous. Means, since narrator had come with Ranga to find out about the future, to find out the prediction, so obviously you know that these astrologers, they have their all the books and other things to tell you about your future. So take out your paraphernalia. Rangappa seems to have something on his mind. Can you tell us what's worrying him? Shall we put your science of astrology to the test? So narrator asks the Shastri to take out all his tools to help solve whatever is going on Ranga's mind with full authority. So there was authority in my voice as I spoke to Shastri. He took out two sheets of paper, some coddies, and a book of Palmyra leaves, saying, "Ours is an ancient science, Aya. There's a story to it." So coddies, you must have seen, they are like uh, a small marine mollusk which has a glossy and brightly patterned domed shell with a long narrow opening. हिंदी में बोलूँ तो शंख, छोटे छोटे शंख टाइप होते हैं, that are called coddies. And in ancient times, these coddies were used to play games like Ludo and other things. So they were taken out by the Shastri. Then Pamira leaves means Pamira is palm tree, and the leaves of those palm trees, they were also taken out, and he said that it is our ancient science. There's a story to it, but I won't tell you that story now. This is not a Hari Katha. Hari Katha is story of God. So he says that it is not a Hari Katha which allows you to tell a story within a story, because narrator was narrating a story to us, and he said that it was not right to tell a story in a story, and you may get bored. I'll tell it to you some other time. So when Shastri he took out some of his essential, he said that he won't recite it now about this ancient science, because then they both would get bored. But he does not intend on telling, but he does intend on telling it other some time. Shastri moved his lips as fast as he counted on his fingers, and then asked, "What's your star?" Ranga didn't know. So Shastri moved his lips while counting quickly and asked Ranga about his star, which he did not know. "Never mind," Shastri indicated. Indicated means pointed. Means he said that okay, if you do not know about your stars, then also he will be able to manage things. So never mind, Shastri indicated with a shake of his head. He did some more calculations before saying in a serious tone, "It's about a girl." So he appeared to be doing some certain calculations, and after a moment he indicated that Ranga has a girl on his mind. I had been controlling my laughter all this while, but now I burst out laughing. I turned to Ranga. Exactly what I had said. "Who is the girl?" "It was your humble servant who asked the question." So when Shastri indicated that Ranga has a girl on his mind, and even after trying his best, Shama could not control his laughter and posed a question to Shastri asking about the details of the girl. Shastri he thought for a while before replying. "She probably has the name of something found in the ocean. Kamla, maybe. Could it be Pachi moss? Must it be moss if it's not Kamla? Why not pearl or Ratna, the precious stone?" So Shastri thought and replied that the girl is likely to have a name of something found in the ocean. Their guesses include Kamla, Pachi, Pachi is a moss, pearl, and then suddenly Shastri said Ratna. Ratna? The girl in Ramarao's house is Ratna. Tell me, is there any chance of a negotiations bearing fruit? Negotiations mean conversation to settle marriage. So after these names, when Shastri said the name Ratna, all of it came together now to a girl named Ratna, who is the niece of Rama Rao, and that's it. Ranga was thinking about her only. So when narrator asked that is there any chance of negotiation bearing fruit, means is there any chance of settlement of marriage between them? Definitely, he said. After thinking for some time, there was a surprise on Ranga's face and some happiness. I noticed it. So when he said yes, there are chances, Ranga was both surprised and happy because Shastri's predictions were right. "That girl is married," I said. Then I turned to him, his face had fallen. But when narrator told that the girl is already married, Ranga immediately became disappointed, and hearing about this, his face it had fallen. I don't know all that. There may be some other girl who is suitable. I only told you what our Shastra indicated, Shastri said. So Shastri said that he did not know all that and there might be another suitable girl. So to make it look real, Shastri interfered in their name guessing game and told them that he only told what can be read. So he told them, he said that I do not know, which girl you're talking about, Ratna, whether she's married or not. But he said that I told you what was told, what was indicated in our Shastra. We left the place. On the way, we passed by Rama Rao's house. Ratna was standing at the door. I went in alone and came out a minute later. So both of them left and crossed Rama Rao's door, where Shama he went to see Ratna for a minute and came back. Surprising. This girl isn't married, it seems. Someone told me the other day that she was. What Shastri told us has turned out to be true after all. But Rangappa, I can't believe that you have been thinking of her. Swear on the name of Madhav Acharya. Madhav Acharya was the exponent of Vedantic philosophy from South India. And tell me, is it true what Shastri said? So when narrator he came back, he announces that fortunately Ratna is not married and someone might have wrongly conveyed it to him about that. The narrator expresses his amazement at the fact that he has been thinking about Ratna and asks him to swear upon the truth. I do not know whether anyone else would have been direct. Ranga admitted. There's a greater truth in that Shastra than we imagine. What he said is absolutely true. So, to the surprise of narrator, Ranga told him the truth that whatever Shastri said is true. His belief in all the Shastras had strengthened. So whatever predictions that were made by the Shastri, it came out to be true, and Ranga accepted his attraction for Ratna. Shastri was at the well when I went there that evening. I said, "So, Shastri girl, you repeated everything I had taught you without giving rise to any suspicion." Suspicion means doubt. What a marvelous Shastra yours is. He didn't like it at all. So when Shama went to see Shastri that evening when he was near the well and remarked about how well he did what Shama told him to, Shastri seemed to not like what the narrator was saying. So he says, "What are you saying? What you said to me was what I could have found out myself from the Shastras. Don't forget, I developed on the hints you had given me. Tell me, is this what a decent man says?" So Shastri, he seemed to not like what the narrator was saying. Thus he says that whatever he said could very clearly be seen in the Shastras. He completely disagreed with having staged the entire conversation. Means he was not in agreement with narrator, because narrator was taking the whole credit that it was he who taught him what is to be said. But Shastri, he did not like it, and he said that he had found it himself from the Shastras and only developed it on the hints that were given by narrator. So it is not that whole thing was uh, tutored by narrator. Shastri also used his knowledge, his own mind. Then he says, "Tell me, is this what a decent man says?" Decent means nice man. So he says that, it was not good on his part to say like this. Rangappa had come the other day to invite me for dinner. "What's the occasion?" I asked. "It's Shama's birthday. He is 3. "It's not a nice name, Shama," I said. Now the narrator, he takes us few years forward where Ranga and Ratna are happily married, and they had a 3-year-old son, and uh, his birthday was there, and they had kept some kind of a celebration. So they called narrator Shama also to that celebration. Shama asked that what is the occasion, and they said that it's the birthday of their son and his name is Shama, and he says that it's not a nice name. I am like a dark piece of oil cake. Why did you have to give that golden child of yours such a name? Golden child of yours such a name? What a childish couple you are, Ratna and you. I know. It is the English custom of naming the child after someone you like. So when Ranga said that it is Shama's birthday, and the couple, they had named their son after the narrator, because it is a English tradition to name your child after someone you truly admire, you truly love. So obviously Ranga and his wife Ratna, they admired narrator, because it was of the narrator's effort that they had got into this settlement of marriage. So but narrator did not like, because he considered himself to be a dark colored person, and the child was golden child. Golden child means he was fair. Then he talks about this English custom, and further he says that your wife is eight months pregnant now. So Ranga and Ratna, as I said, that they were happily married and they had a 3-year-old son, and Ratna was 8 months pregnant. Who's there to help your mother to cook? Since Ratna couldn't do household works, she was running in her 8th month. So narrator asked Ranga that who is there to help your mother to cook. So Ranga said that my sister has come with her. I went there for dinner. Shama rushed to me. Now this Shama is that 3-year-old kid of Ranga and Ratna. So when our narrator went to their home for dinner, that little boy, he rushed to me, and when I walked in and put his arms round my legs, I kissed him on his cheek and placed a ring on his little tiny finger. So he gave his blessings to the child, and also gifted him a small ring, and gave him a ring, kissed him. Then now what he says, that allow me to take leave of you, reader. Now the narrator is uh, talking to us directly, and he is saying that allow me to take leave of you, reader. I'm always here ready to serve you. You were not bored, I hope. So he writes an ending note to all the readers, hoping that they were not bored with this story of him. I also hope that you did not get bored with this explanation of this chapter, and hope that you have understood it clearly. But still, if you face any problem, you can ask me in the group. Okay, that's the end of the explanation. Thank you and take care.